Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about the much maligned sequel to Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Earlier on in this year, I decided to watch the original 1968 Planet of the Apes, the sci-fi classic. What I expected was a relatively cheesy movie based on my own memories of watching it as a kid, but what I actually ended up with was a contemplative and deep narrative, one that really pushed the ideas of looking at society through a mirror that was otherwise identical. But then I learned afterwards that this movie actually has 4 sequels. That's right, 4 of them, and I haven't heard of any of them. The first sequel is called Beneath the Planet of the Apes. And I mean, what is beneath there? What is it? What's underneath that Planet of the Apes?
I want it now.
So let's delve into this potentially misunderstood classic and see what is beneath the Planet of the Apes. Please also be aware that this video will contain spoilers for both the first and second Planet of the Apes movies, so if you haven't seen them and you don't want them to get spoiled, make sure you watch them first. They're available on Disney+. I have to start this off with some negativity. While I do really love this movie, and I have a lot to say about the second half, the first half is unfortunately not very good. It does start with a very interesting sequence, however, where Charlton Heston encounters a weird CGI wall of fire and then clips through the earth. I mean, where did he go? What happened to him? This sequence asks so many questions. It's such a strange and interesting way to start this movie off, because it does imply this great mystery about the movie overall. However, we're left to wait for the answer to this mystery, because then we cut to this new character named Brent.
My name's Brent. Brent.
And this is really where the troubles begin with this movie, the real downside of this movie. Brent has, beat for beat, the exact same experience that Charlton Heston's character Taylor has in the first movie. He crashes on the planet with his little spaceship. His entire crew members die or disappear. He meets Nova, one of the mute human characters. Then he witnesses some cruelty, which gives him a negative outlook on ape society. Then he befriends Zero and Cornelius, before ultimately being put in jail, just like Taylor. And finally, he escapes, which leads him to uncovering the truth behind the Planet of the Apes.
My God, did we finally do it?
This retread is really unfortunate and it's really quite boring. Overall, this retread is worse acted, rushed, less interesting, less deep, doesn't feature Rowdy Roddy McDowall, and is pointless anyway, because it's exactly what happened in the first movie, but in half the time. There is, however, this one hilarious moment. First time I watched Beneath the Planet of the Apes, I actually didn't end up finishing it. I actually stopped halfway through the first half. But thankfully, that clip of Charlton Heston falling through the earth was stuck in my mind. I needed to know what happened to him. So about a week later I went back to the movie and started finishing it off. It's not clear what decisions led to this being a repeat of the first movie. It could be due to the fact that the first movie was an unexpected success. Fox had several high-profile flops, so the success of Planet of the Apes was actually quite unprecedented. This meant that they ended up rushing out a sequel as quickly as they could. It's entirely possible that Fox didn't want to mess with the formula and mostly wanted the same movie again. So this could just end up being a cash grab that ended up having some creative flair to it as a director managed to put his own vision onto the second half of the movie. Another possible reason could be that Charlton Heston actually did not want to return to the movie. He had a specific clause for what would convince him to return to the movie, which we'll get to later. In either case, what happens after this first half is quite extraordinary. Because now that the director is able to get past the obligation to repeat the first movie, he's able to truly explore what he wants to explore. So now let's move on back to the good stuff to find out why I love the second half of Beneath the Planet of the Apes. There is actually so much to love in the second half of Beneath the Planet of the Apes. It's even more staggering when you consider how much of a repeat the first half was. The fact is that it takes a colossal swing from what we already have established as the Planet of the Apes franchise. So let's start off with the small stuff. Firstly, I love the set design of this underground subway. The remains of New York City have sunk into the earth. I really like how a lot of these backgrounds are hand-drawn. They look really beautiful and they give this illusion of distance. Honestly, check out this crushed vehicle drawn into the wall. While exploring this cursed subway, eventually Brent and Nova find their way to a set of cathedral doors. Immediately the mystery starts unravelling, the answers to our questions: what was beneath the planet of the Earth? And that's when we start to get introduced to the real antagonists of this movie. Subtly at first, as Brent is overcome by some kind of a madness and is forced to attack Nova. After freeing himself from his madness, he opens the cathedral doors, and we're introduced to our new best friends. Because the main antagonists of Beneath are in fact this telepathic, skinless, mutant, nuclear and radiation and atomic bomb worshipping cult of freaks. They have a perfect B-movie vibe to them. And while the nuclear worshipping cult seems like a staple of post-apocalyptic media now, I genuinely cannot find an earlier example of this trope existing prior to this movie. It seems crazy to me that a movie this maligned, and a movie this unpopular and unknown, invented this popular of a trope. Genuinely, if you know of a piece of media that has this trope in that's earlier than Beneath the Planet of the Apes, please let me know in the comments below. I'm very excited to watch it. This is exactly the kind of trope that Fallout borrows from all of the time. And as an original interpretation, it's pretty crazy. I love their nuclear bunker costumes. I love that they telepathically communicate with Taylor at the start through beeps and boops, and we get this brilliant scene where he tries to respond to them, but we never hear what they're saying. And I absolutely love the absurd, discordant sermon they give towards the bomb. I absolutely love old B-movie sci-fis, and this sermon is so wonderfully unhinged. Just listening to their discordant and incorrect version of all things bright and beautiful is kind of a magical experience. Genuinely, why wasn't the whole movie this?
All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the good God made us all.
When they finally reveal their true nature to the holy bomb, of course, it's this fantastic practical effect work. These scaly and veiny faces that are revealed as they continue to sing their discordant melodies. These freaks, of course, claim to be pacifist, for they don't do any physical damage. Instead, they elicit intense mental anguish on their opponents, and they seem to have no qualm with mind controlling and forcing someone to kill someone else. That's not their fault, of course, that's the Batman loophole. While Brent is acting as honoured guest to this glowing cult, Ape Society has decided that there is a threat in the wasteland. They don't fully know what it is yet, but they're coming and they want to put a stop to it. They've brought their armies, they've brought their guns. Of course, we learn that the illusions that were affecting Charlton Heston at the start of the movie, the flaming wall, the invisible ground, were created by this cult. So ultimately, the cult is who the apes are coming to get. They just don't know it yet. In order to defend themselves, they create a new illusion to stop the apes from finding where they are. And what they create is sheer as something. They manifest several apes crucified upside down in a flaming zone, while the apes version of Christ the Redeemer bleeds from its eyes and mouth. This movie is kind of intense. For the 70s, I imagine that this was kind of a crazy scene. And while the CGI is still just as dodgy in the start, it doesn't take away from the brutal nature of the idea of this vision. Thankfully, the apes have a strong faith towards their lawgiver. Seeing him bleed from his eyes and mouth actually convinces them that it must be an illusion. So it's a bit of a mistake on the cult's part there. The movie then culminates in this ultimate battle, where the apes storm into the compound. They destroy the fabulous artwork that the cult have been creating, and the cult get ready to detonate their holy weapon. This is classic sci-fi B-movie magic. There's plenty of great imagery here, it's a great set, it's a fun battle, it's got great scenes, it's got a great premise, and I love the cult. They're so interesting, they're so cool, they're so well designed. I think had the whole movie been about the cult, and we had maybe about 10 minutes of intro instead, this would have been a 5-star movie. This would have been perfect for me personally. And if you like sci-fi B-movies like this second half is not to be missed. So let's circle back to that clause that I told you about that stopped Charlton Heston from wanting to appear in the movie. Charlton Heston felt like Taylor's story was finished. And the only thing that would convince him to be in the movie was if his character Taylor died, which results in one of the most bleak endings in all of cinema. This eventually becomes kind of a staple of the Planet of the Apes franchise, and while I wish we'd seen more of the final destruction, you can't deny it. That is one hell of a baller way to end a movie.
Of the countless billions of galaxies in the universe lies a medium-sized star, and one of its satellites, a green and insignificant planet, is now dead.
So hopefully, if you're anything like me and you love B-movie sci-fi, you'll understand exactly why I love this movie, and why I think it's a bit misunderstood. I do think a lot of people write it off because of the first half, and don't kind of realise how genuinely insane the second half is. It's every kind of audacious swing that I love to see in a movie that just goes for the fences without any restraint. And while I might have given the first half of the movie maybe a 1-star or half a star, the second half of the movie is definitely a 5-star experience. Well, for me at least, anyway. That is, after all, why I love Beneath the Planet of the Apes. So thanks for listening again. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have you seen this movie? Did you like it? I understand if you didn't. It's got a lot of problems, but I really do like the undercurrent that's behind it. What I also think really works in the movie's favour is how much context it adds to the first Planet of the Apes movie. It gives you a broader picture of how the rest of the world might have been affected by the nuclear war that caused the first Planet of the Apes. And this might be genuinely surprising, but I actually think all of the Planet of the Apes movies are really good. The next one, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, is probably actually the best one, but even the worst one has something to add to the franchise overall. They really work in tandem well together, and the context and the information that you gain from the other movies, in my opinion, really elevates the rest of the movies a lot higher. I really enjoyed the first movie the first time I watched it, but I enjoyed it way more the second time having seen the sequels, and seeing how all of these pieces tie together, and all of the questions they both ask and answer. So I would definitely recommend checking out the rest of the franchise, and seeing what it has to offer. And of course, please let me know if you have any thoughts or feedback on the video. Like it if you like it, don't like it if you don't. I actually did try a new audio recording technique here, which made the editing a lot more efficient. I don't know if it actually helped the sound quality at all. I also attempted to incorporate some more humour. Maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't. I don't know, hopefully. In any case, thanks for listening, and have a wonderful day.